This is how I split up my paycheck in a simplified version of how I budget. After doing different types of budgets for the last 20 years or so, my wife and I have definitely figured out a way that makes it so that it's so much less stress than anything else. And for me personally, I'm able to invest freely, knowing that I'm not taking any money away from like our family or money that we may need down the road. So I can just park that money in there and let it grow long term. So I want to give you that peace of mind as well. Over my lifetime, I've paid off a couple huge debts using this method that I'm going to show you today. When my wife and I started our first businesses, we had about $50,000 worth of debt and we paid that off. And then recently when we bought a house, we wanted to put in a new backyard and a new front yard. That was another $50,000, or actually a little more than $50,000, and we paid that off within a year using this specific method. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Nolan Govea. My students call me Professor G, and I made this channel to make investing simplified. And I'm super excited to jump into this topic today. So now, as you know from this channel, I've always had side hustles and second or third jobs, and my wife does the same thing. But what we do is we try to make it so that all of our living expenses and all of our major expenses and savings and things like that need to fit within how much we actually make from our stable, normal jobs. So her job in marketing and my job as a professor, those are our stable, full-time jobs. And with that, we bring in around $11,000 to $12,000 a month. Then any side gigs that we do or anything side hustle wise, we go ahead and we can use that money on whatever we see fit. That might be other types of investments or spontaneous weekend trips or something. But a big takeaway here is I see a lot of people try to go straight for the fun thing, which is put money into investing right away from money that maybe they need for something else that's more important, but maybe not as fun. They might say, well, if I just put this money here and it grows a little bit, then I can use that money to pay off my debt, or I can use that for groceries or something. And then it goes sour, goes sideways, then you're in trouble. So we definitely don't want to go that route. So for us, this makes the most sense. And as always, I'm super curious about how you split up your paychecks. And it would be great for all of the viewers of this video to be able to have multiple examples down in the comment section. I recognize that this may be my way, but it's definitely not the way. And so I'd love to learn from you all. So comment that down below. So first here is from our stable jobs. In total, we contribute about 5% or so towards our 401k or 403b, and then we have a match of about 10% on top of that. So really it's about 15%, but it's only 5% of what we put in from our own actual paycheck. The total amount of money that we actually see from paychecks, including this section and then also the section I'm going to talk about in a couple minutes, any money that we see as a family, we tithe 10% of that money straight back to the church. Then we also contribute the max amount to an IRA and then convert that to a Roth IRA through a backdoor Roth IRA conversion process. And I just did a video on this, so if you're interested in that, I'll go ahead and link that down below. So that's about $1,000 a month, or about 10 to 15% of our total monthly income at that point. Next, our living expenses right now are fairly high because we just moved to LA and we're living right by the beach. It's just very expensive out there. We also have one vehicle that's recently new and we're paying that off. So in total, about 60% of this income goes directly towards living expenses, leaving us with about 10% or so from our regular stable jobs. With that last 10%, we usually split that between like a vacation savings and then also just regular savings or emergency savings or something of that nature. We may also pay off any small credit card debt or anything that we had throughout the month or something, but for the most part, we're pretty much debt-free in that area. And real quick, a thing that's gonna help your mental health a bunch is to understand how much your living expenses actually are every month, and then just get everything automated as quick as possible. All of our bills are just totally automated, and then we know, just having peace of mind, that as long as we're putting the amount of money into our account, then our bills will be paid for and we don't have to worry about it. So that takes a lot of stress off, and for any of you that are in that situation, I think that that would really, really help. Make sure that you do cross-reference it every once in a while to make sure that you're not getting overcharged or anything. but that's really helped me out personally. So now is the fun part, because all of our expenses are paid off, our debt is paid off, so anything more that we make, any other income from side hustles or other jobs or anything, at that point is just extra money, totally free and clear. And the reason we do it this way, like I was kind of talking about before, is super mental. We know that we're totally covered for our living expenses and everything else within our regular jobs. And so with these side hustles and extra jobs, if we ever get too stressed out or too overworked or anything like that, we understand and know that we're not living off of that extra money. That's just extra fun money to a certain extent. So if you get too stressed, we could totally quit at any point and just go back to just having one job and taking the stress off that way. And it definitely helps that mental health. So my other streams of income are from being a professor at another university part-time, also YouTube, and then also consulting. From that, I make anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 extra per month. And splitting that up is much more fun. Now, the first thing that I do is I take about 25% of my total of that and I just put it aside and I set it aside for taxes. Now that isn't too much fun, but I do put it into a high yield savings account so that it's earning some interest, and right now the interest is really good. So when the taxes are due, I don't have to freak out. I have the money there. Gives me peace of mind, and also I'm making some interest on it, so win-win. Next, I set about 10% aside and I reinvest that back into my business. For me right now, YouTube and consulting are my business, and since I've started 6 businesses to this point, what I've seen attribute to the most success is reinvesting back into your business. You can never stay complacent. You can never just keep doing the same old thing. You need to constantly innovate and you need to grow. So for me, that looks like educating myself so that I can bring better content to you. That could be different seminars that I go to or conferences. That could also be books or other materials for me to learn. I'm also buying new equipment and other things like that. Now the bulk of that extra income goes to...
Drum roll, please. Nick, snare drum. I shouldn't have to specify.
Investing. Shocker, I know. Up until recently, most of that had really been going into saving up for another down payment for that other rental property. Now it's more about mitigating the risk a little bit and building up an emergency savings for those 2 rental properties and just any other liabilities possible. I outlined this a bunch in the latest office hours video I did last week on my financial plan for 2023. So I'll link to that video down below so that you can watch that as well. I think that's gonna help out a lot of people as well, just knowing that there are different seasons with your finances and it's totally okay to change, switch some things up, and just do what's best for you at the moment. So at this point, about half of that extra money is going into a high yield savings account, and its purpose is to be an emergency savings specifically for our investments, just in case people can't pay the mortgage or we don't have renters or whatever for a couple of months. We want to make sure and be safe there. And a side note on that high yield savings account is that thing is crushing it. I have a high yield savings account at Capital One. It's super easy to get set up. I earn about 4% interest, which is beating a lot of ETFs right now. So don't sleep on those high yield savings account, y'all. And then the other half of the rest of that money is going into a brokerage account. And I'm investing in a bunch of safe ETFs with low fees and also a couple individual company stocks. I'm not spreading out my money a bunch and buying a bunch of different stocks and ETFs. I pretty much stick within the same 3 to 5. As you know on this channel, I absolutely love ETFs due to the simplicity that you could just invest in that always, regardless of if the market's up or the market's down. Doesn't really matter right now because we're holding for 10 or 20 years, and I'm pretty certain that these ETFs that I hold are going to be much higher than they are now in 10 years. Everyone always asks me, when is the best time to buy? Should I wait for the dip a little bit? And if you invest the way that I do, it's super low stress. You don't have to worry about anything like that. The ETF kind of does everything for you. Now, I made a video on the 3 ETF categories that you should definitely be considering, and these are the ones that I invest in every single month, no matter what. Check out this video now and let me know which one is your favorite.